Remember when fast food had personality? Before every highway exit had the same 5 chains, America's roads were lined with wild restaurants that are now just ghosts on the landscape. Today, we're diving into 10 vanished fast food empires that were once household names. Some pioneered menu items you eat today without knowing where they came from. Others went down in flames so spectacularly that business schools still study what went wrong. If you grew up in the 60s, 70s, or 80s, you absolutely knew these names. Let's find out what happened to them. Number 1. Howard Johnson's. Those distinctive orange roofs with turquoise cupolas were beacons dotting every American highway. Howard Johnson's, known as Hojo's, was once the largest restaurant chain in the entire country, peaking at over 1,000 locations. Here's what made Hojo's legendary: 28 flavors of ice cream. Half a century before Ben & Jerry's existed, Howard Johnson's was churning out more varieties than anyone had ever seen. Families made special trips just to try new flavors. The restaurants had that unmistakable aesthetic: orange vinyl booths, retro signage, and a menu that wasn't trying to serve you in 90 seconds. They were famous for fried clams, sweet frankfurters, and macaroni and cheese that people still try to recreate today. Hojo's wasn't fast food in the modern sense. That's exactly what killed it. When the interstate system exploded and Americans prioritized speed over experience, sit-down restaurants became relics. McDonald's could get you fed in minutes. Hojo's couldn't compete. The very last Howard Johnson's closed in Lake George, New York in 2017, ending an 85-year run. For baby boomers, sliding into an orange booth at Hojo's remains a core memory no modern chain can replicate. Number 2, Dog N Suds. Picture this: a root beer so cold and frothy that condensation dripped down the frosted mug before your first sip, delivered to your car window by a server on roller skates. That was Dog N Suds. Founded in 1953 in Champaign, Illinois, Dog N Suds became the ultimate drive-in experience, growing to over 650 locations at its peak. Their signature? Ice-cold root beer served in frozen mugs that made every other soft drink feel inferior. The menu was perfected simplicity: Coney Island-style hot dogs, crispy fries, and that legendary root beer. The car hop culture turned dinner into an event. Here's the twist: Dog N Suds still technically exists. A handful of locations across the Midwest still operate, serving that same root beer in frozen mugs. Most people have no idea they're still around. The chain never recovered from the 1970s decline of drive-in culture when fast food moved indoors. Dog N Suds is one of those regional legends where if you know, you know. And if you don't, you missed something special. Number 3, Chi-Chi's. Let's be honest, it's no surprise Chi-Chi's permanently closed every U.S. location. Founded in Minnesota in 1975, this Mexican chain grew to 210 locations, becoming America's favorite spot for margaritas and sizzling fajitas throughout the 80s and 90s. For a generation, Chi-Chi's was their introduction to Mexican food beyond Taco Bell. The atmosphere was festive, portions were huge, and the fried ice cream became legendary. They popularized the tableside salsa bar. Then came 2003. The largest hepatitis A outbreak in U.S. history, traced to contaminated green onions at a Pennsylvania location. Over 60 people sick, 4 people dead. The news coverage was relentless. Already struggling financially, Chi-Chi's filed for bankruptcy in 2004. Every location closed. The signs came down. The wildest part? Chi-Chi's still exists internationally in Belgium, Luxembourg, Austria, and the UAE. Their business model works everywhere except the country that created it. Chi-Chi's is a textbook case of how one catastrophic incident can obliterate even a massive empire overnight. Number 4, Burger Chef. Before McDonald's became undisputed king, they had a legitimate rival. At over 1,200 locations, Burger Chef was McDonald's biggest threat, and they pioneered innovations that still define fast food today. Ever wonder where the Happy Meal came from? Burger Chef invented it. They called it the Fun Meal, a kid's meal with a toy that McDonald's straight up copied. Burger Chef also created the first combo meal in America, the Triple Threat, giving customers a burger, fries, and drink as a package. That concept literally defines fast food today. Their Big Chef sandwich battled the Big Mac in what historians call the first true burger war. They also pioneered the Works Bar, letting customers choose toppings, an early build-your-own concept. So why did such an innovative chain disappear? Terrible management. In the mid-1970s, General Foods acquired Burger Chef, and they had no idea how to run a restaurant. General Foods made soup and cereal. They mismanaged the chain into oblivion. By 1982, Hardee's had acquired most locations. The brand vanished by 1996. One location in Cleveland, Tennessee, still sells Burger Chef items, keeping a tiny piece of the legacy alive. Burger Chef should have been a giant. They just got unlucky with ownership. Number 5, White Tower Hamburgers. White Tower wasn't hiding what they were doing. They looked at White Castle's success and said, "We're doing that, but everywhere." Founded in 1926 in Milwaukee, White Tower copied White Castle's architecture, menu, cooking style, even their name. At their peak, White Tower operated over 230 locations, primarily along the East Coast, serving tiny square burgers in buildings designed to look clean and trustworthy. The name White Tower evoked cleanliness, combating early 20th century stigma that hamburgers were unsafe. White Castle sued White Tower multiple times for trademark infringement and won settlements, but White Tower kept operating. The legal drama actually helped both chains gain recognition. Their downfall? They couldn't compete when McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's began national expansion in the 60s and 70s. White Tower's burgers were fine, but not innovative. They were imitations that worked when competition was limited. The last White Tower closed in Toledo, Ohio in 2004, ending nearly 80 years. Today, they're mostly a footnote, a fascinating example of how copying success works temporarily but never sustains long-term. Number 6, Sambo's. Sambo's is one of the most complicated stories in fast food history. Starting in 1957 in Santa Barbara, this breakfast diner reached an astounding 117 locations at its peak. More than Burger King had at the time. Their breakfast was legitimately excellent. Fluffy pancakes, affordable prices, all-day breakfast before that was common. The food was never the problem. The name was always the problem. Founders Sam Battistone and Newell Bonnet claimed Sambo's was a portmanteau of their first names. But it also matched a controversial children's book, and restaurants decorated walls with scenes from the story. As the civil rights movement gained momentum in the 1970s, protests erupted. Management tried renaming locations Jolly Tiger or No Place Like Sam's, but the damage was done. Coupled with overexpansion and massive debt, the chain filed for bankruptcy in 1981. Most locations closed. Only one Sambo's remained in Santa Barbara, operating as a nostalgic relic until 2020, when it finally changed its name following the George Floyd protests. Sambo's shows how brand identity can destroy even the most successful business model. They had the food, the locations, and the loyalty, but the name made it unsustainable. Number 7, Pup N Taco. Imagine if Taco Bell and a hot dog stand had a baby. That was Pup N Taco, a beautifully weird hybrid that defined Southern California from 1956 through the early 1980s. Founded by Russell Wendell in Long Beach, Pup N Taco's menu was delightfully confused. Tacos, hot dogs, burgers, pastrami sandwiches, and the famous taco burger, ground beef in a taco shell. It sounds chaotic, but it worked. The variety meant everyone in your group could find something. What made it special was its California personality, casual, unpretentious, and cheap, serving quality fast food before fast casual existed. Their Americanized tacos were perfect for late-night cravings. At its peak, 99 locations across California. Then Taco Bell made a power move. They bought the entire chain in 1984, converted locations into Taco Bells, and killed the brand. Taco Bell didn't outcompete Pup N Taco. They just bought them and erased them. Some menu items, like the taco burger, quietly appeared on Taco Bell's menu before disappearing. For Southern Californians, the loss still stings. A regional favorite swallowed by corporate consolidation. Number 8, Delights. In the late 1970s, Delight's tried something radical, healthy fast food as the entire concept. Founded in Georgia, Delight's served lean beef, high-fiber buns, and low-fat cheese when every other chain celebrated grease and indulgence. They were decades ahead, preaching nutrition before anyone cared. Their marketing emphasized calorie counts and fat content, positioning themselves as the guilt-free option. For a brief moment, it worked. Health-conscious consumers loved it, and Delight's expanded rapidly. Then McDonald's and Burger King added salads and grilled chicken, completely undermining Delight's unique selling point. Delight's filed for bankruptcy in 1987, unable to compete once the giants entered their niche. In a cruel, ironic twist, many locations were converted into Hardee's, one of the least healthy chains imaginable. Delight's proved that being right too early is the same as being wrong. Healthy fast food became a massive industry, but only decades after Delight's died trying to make it happen. Number 9. Red Barn. Red Barn didn't just have a farm theme, they committed completely. Every location was built to look like a bright red barn with a sloped roof and cupola. It looked like someone plopped a rural barn into a suburban parking lot. And somehow, it worked. Founded in the 1960s, Red Barn expanded to over 400 locations, serving farm-themed items like the Big Barney, a double-patty burger that predated McDonald's Big Mac. For serious appetites, the Barn Buster delivered even more. Red Barn pioneered self-service salad bars, giving customers more control. Their jingle, "When the Hungries hit the Red Barn," became a cultural earworm. But Red Barn suffered from ownership that didn't care. Servomation, their parent company, prioritized real estate over restaurants. When Motel 6 acquired Servomation, they showed zero interest in running a restaurant chain. Without leadership, franchises closed throughout the late 1970s. By the mid-1980s, the brand was gone. A few buildings still stand, repurposed into other businesses. Red Barn proves that even a great concept and loyal customers can't save a chain if ownership doesn't care. Number 10. Sandy's. If White Tower copying White Castle was bold, Sandy's took it further. Founded in 1956, Sandy's was a near-identical clone of McDonald's, copying their menu, architecture, and even their mascot, a character named Sandy, who looked suspiciously like McDonald's Speedy. At their peak, Sandy's operated over 200 locations across the Midwest and South, serving cheap burgers and shakes to families who wanted the McDonald's experience in areas where McDonald's hadn't expanded yet. For many small towns, Sandy's was their first taste of modern fast food. The problem? McDonald's eventually expanded everywhere, including directly into Sandy's territory. When customers had a choice between the original and the knockoff, they chose McDonald's every time. In 1972, Hardee's acquired Sandy's, converting locations and erasing the brand. Today, Sandy's is mostly forgotten except by regional historians. Sandy's is a perfect example of how imitation might get you started, but it will never sustain you. Once the real thing arrives, the copy becomes irrelevant. These 10 chains weren't just restaurants. They were cultural touchstones and weekend traditions for millions of Americans. Some innovated and got unlucky, others copied and got caught, a few made catastrophic mistakes, but all of them contributed to the wild experimental era before corporate consolidation turned every highway into the same 5 chains. What's crazy? So many innovations we take for granted, Happy Meals, combo meals, salad bars, came from these forgotten chains. They pioneered ideas that McDonald's and others perfected and monetized. If you remember eating at any of these places, drop a comment and tell us which one hits the hardest. Because once upon a time, fast food had personality, and we'll probably never see that again.